Every morning, just after 7, Anna pushed open the weathered glass door of the small cafe tucked between a florist and a bookshop on a quiet Sydney street. The bell above the door gave a soft chime, and the scent of roasted beans and warm milk wrapped around her like an old sweater. She never ordered out loud anymore. Her usual, a flat white with half a sugar, arrived at her table like clockwork. The baristas knew her name, but more importantly, they knew her silence. She always chose the same spot, the table by the window, bathed in soft golden light and just wide enough for her notebook, a pen, and her cup. From there, she watched the world move. It was never loud, but always alive. On Monday, she saw a young man in a navy suit outside, pacing, muttering to himself, his hand occasionally cutting through the air like he was delivering lines on a stage. His shoulders sagged when he paused, then squared again before he entered the building across the road. Job interview, she guessed. Across the intersection, a woman with a pram broke into tears while fumbling with a bottle. A kind stranger paused to help. By the time the light changed, the woman was already moving again, her back a little straighter. Anna didn't pretend to know their lives. She only collected their moments, fragments of untold stories that hung in the space between one sip and the next. It gave her a kind of stillness she couldn't find elsewhere. Her own life had become a blur of edits, unread texts, and too many what-ifs. She was living in a city that never slowed down, in a life that often felt like it had slipped into fast forward. But here, at this window, time folded in on itself. It expanded with every passing figure. That morning, her phone buzzed. A message from Josh, short, polite, full of awkward familiarity. She didn't open it, just turned the phone face down and took another sip. The taste of the coffee grounded her. Bitter, rich, real, unlike the end of that relationship, which had been like sand slipping through her fingers. Outside, a tram rolled by. A child pressed their face against the glass, wide-eyed, staring directly at Anna's table. She smiled before she could stop herself. The cup emptied slowly. Her notebook remained blank. But she wasn't disappointed. Some days were for writing. Others were for noticing. And this, she knew, was one of the latter. As the morning light shifted and the crowd outside thickened, Anna gathered her things and stood. The barista gave her a nod, a shared ritual of parting. When she stepped out into the breeze, the city felt a little softer. Not because it had changed, but because she had. The first time Anna noticed the man with the blue scarf, he was sitting on the curb just beyond the cafe awning, sketching with gloved hands as drizzle painted soft streaks down the glass. Something about him made her pause, not because he was doing anything remarkable, but because he looked like someone who had always been there, like part of the scenery she had only just learned to see. The scarf stood out against his dark coat, vibrant and defiant, as if it were trying to make up for the silence he carried. He sat in the same spot the next day, and the one after that, always sketching, always alone. He never entered the cafe, never looked up when someone passed. His presence became as consistent as Anna's table and her flat, white. She began to look for him before she even ordered. Some days, he would glance at her reflection in the window, and for a fleeting second, she wondered if he knew she was watching. As the days passed, Anna started bringing her own notebook again, not for editing manuscripts or working through emails, but to sketch. At first, it was just the shape of the coffee cup or the curve of the spoon. Then came outlines of faces she'd seen. The young man with the job interview, nerves. The crying mother. The girl with the heavy backpack who always cut through the alley at 8:15. Her hand moved freely in a way it hadn't in years, not perfect lines, but present. Then, one Monday, the man didn't come. Anna found herself staring at the empty spot as if something had been stolen. The table by the window felt colder. The city outside moved just as before, but without him, the rhythm faltered. She stayed longer than usual, hoping he'd appear. He didn't. Nor the next day. On Wednesday, she arrived and found her coffee already waiting, but this time, it wasn't just the cup. Sitting beside it, neatly placed, was a thin, weathered sketchbook. Her name was written on the first page in delicate block letters, just that. No note, no explanation. Heart pounding, Anna opened it. The first drawing was of her through the window, face half lit by morning sun, staring out with a faraway look she didn't recognize. Page after page held scenes from the street, each one familiar. But what caught her breath was the recurring image near the end, two hands, drawn over and over, reaching, never touching. She closed the sketchbook with care, as if it might vanish if handled too roughly. The man never returned. But in the weeks that followed, Anna kept the sketchbook close. She brought it to the cafe every morning. Sometimes she opened it. Sometimes she didn't. But always she sat by the window. And drew. It was always on Fridays that she came, the girl in the red coat, no older than 17. With eyes too old for her face and a journal that looked like it had been through wars. Anna noticed her the same way she had noticed the man with the blue scarf, not because she stood out, but because she returned, always alone, always the same table tucked behind the ficus near the counter. She never made eye contact with anyone. She ordered tea, no sugar, and hunched over her journal like it was the only thing tethering her to the ground. Anna watched her from her usual spot by the window, not out of curiosity, but familiarity. There was something in the girl's stillness that reminded her of herself, of how silence wasn't just absence, but protection. One Friday morning, the girl didn't finish her tea. She left in a hurry, her coat fluttering behind her like a scarlet ribbon caught in wind. When Anna glanced at the table, she saw the journal, half hidden beneath a napkin. It sat there like an exposed wound. For a long time, Anna just stared. Her fingers itched to open it, but she didn't. Instead, she placed it gently into her own bag and waited. The girl didn't return that day, or the next. By Sunday morning, Anna's restraint cracked. In the quiet of her apartment, she opened the journal. The pages were filled with cramped handwriting, some in ink, others in pencil. Poetry, mostly. Raw, unfiltered. Lines like broken glass. I am a silence no one bothers to break. I wear red, so the pain stays outside. School is a hall of mirrors, I can't find myself in any. Anna read until her eyes blurred. Then she wrote one line on a post-it and slipped it between the pages. You are seen. Keep writing. On Monday, she returned to the cafe early and left the journal with the barista, asking him to give it back if the girl returned. Friday came again. The girl walked in just as Anna was halfway through her flat white. She hesitated when the barista handed her the journal. Her fingers clutched it like it might disappear. Then she opened it, found the note, and looked up. Her eyes met Anna's across the cafe. There was no smile, no tear, just a quiet nod, and that was enough. The next week, a napkin appeared on Anna's table. On it, a poem in the same crooked script. She watches the world through glass and steam. A lighthouse wrapped in coffee dreams. It was titled, Table by the Window. Anna read it twice. Then, with the softest smile, she folded the napkin and tucked it inside her own notebook. Some words don't need applause. They just need to be held. By autumn, Anna had started recording the city not in photographs or sketches, but in sound. It began as an experiment, a casual habit. She downloaded a voice memo app and began capturing snippets of mornings from her table by the window, the hiss of the espresso machine, the low murmur of sleepy conversations, the screech of the tram rounding the corner, the sharp staccato of hurried footsteps on wet pavement. At first, she didn't know why she was doing it, but something about the rhythm grounded her. She began narrating over the sounds, quietly, as if whispering into her own solitude. Observations, questions, glimpses of other people's lives. A man with a backpack that looks heavier than he is. Someone is laughing too loudly, and I hope it's for real. How many stories pass a single window in a day? She called the recordings the Coffee Symphony. She didn't plan to share them, but when she sent one to her old friend Isla, a teacher who'd moved to Hobart, Isla replied instantly. I played it during my morning prep. My students stopped talking. They listened like it was music. So Anna kept recording. Each episode was short. 5 minutes, maybe 6. Just a glimpse of a morning. Sometimes it featured the girl in the red coat reading poetry aloud. Other times, the sound of rain, of a baby's cry, of silence thick enough to hum. The process changed her. She started saying hello more, asking names, learning that the barista with the curly hair was named Cam, that the man who always wore 2 watches was a retired railway engineer. She still sat by the window, but she no longer needed the table to feel anchored. One morning, a man approached her table, mid-30s, gentle eyes, headphones around his neck. "Sorry," he said shyly. "Are you the voice from the Café podcast?" Anna blinked, caught, then nodded. He smiled. "It helps. The way you notice things. I walk slower now." After he left, Anna looked at her phone. She hadn't realized people were actually listening. That day, her recording ended differently. For the first time, she spoke not just about what she saw, but what she felt. "I used to think I was invisible," she said. "Maybe I still am. But someone waved at me today. Someone who listened. And that was enough." She didn't name the episode, just uploaded it with the date. That night, she dreamed of the city moving not in chaos, but in rhythm. And in the morning, the world outside her window felt like music. Unwritten. But playing just the same. The cafe was busier than usual. That morning rain softened footsteps shuffled in and out. Umbrellas propped in corners, the hum of chatter blending with the grind of beans. Anna entered later than usual. Her regular table by the window was taken. A stranger, a woman in her 20s with a chipped laptop and oversized headphones, had claimed it. Already immersed in whatever world she was building through the screen. Anna hesitated, her body pausing with a quiet ache, like a musician arriving at a song missing its first note. She didn't ask the woman to move. Instead, she sat near the door, a table she had never chosen before. From there, the street looked different. The tram stop wasn't visible, but she could see the alleyway where the school kids gathered. She watched a dog walker pause to wipe muddy paws. A man in an apron lit a cigarette outside the bakery. A couple argued softly under a shared umbrella. The rhythm had changed, but the music remained. Cam, the barista, brought over her coffee without a word. This time, the cup had something written on it in black marker. "Try something new." Anna smiled, sipping slowly. She opened her notebook but didn't write. Her mind wandered back through all the mornings that had passed through this place. The man with the scarf. The girl in the red coat. The sounds she had collected. The people she'd never spoken to but remembered like characters in a dog-eared book. She realized then that the cafe had never been a chapter. It was the binding. The quiet space between the noise. The breath. That afternoon, she uploaded a new episode of her podcast. It had no music, no narration, only the layered sounds of her cafe life, clinking cups, background chatter, city rain, and near the end, her voice. "I always thought the table by the window was my anchor. But maybe it wasn't the table. Maybe it was the pause, the permission to sit still while the world turned, to listen, to notice." And if you're hearing this from a crowded cafe, or a silent room, or the backseat of a bus, know this, you're part of it too. She paused. And if you're listening from a window seat, you're not alone. Anna closed the app. The girl in the red coat passed outside, waved. Anna waved back. She stayed longer than usual that morning, letting the world shift around her. It didn't matter where she sat. The music followed her now. The symphony had always been hers. She just needed to hear it.